Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Scattoni, and we are live for week 2 of Best Bet, the Del Mar Wagering Seminar, where I am joined by a special guest each week to discuss the best betting opportunities on Sunday's card. No rest for the weary today, as we are back at it this morning after 2 great days of Breeders' Cup action. Congratulations go out to Marshall Graham, Jonathan Kinchin, and Dylan Donnelly, who finished 1, 2, 3 in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, winning more than $1 million between the 3 of them. We had Jonathan on our seminar before. Maybe we can get the other 2 guys to come on here at some point, but let's focus on today's action. While we are chatting, you can leave us some comments or ask some questions, and if we have time, we'll get to a few of them. But to let you know, as I mentioned last week, the purpose of this seminar isn't to go race by race and give selections. We're going to tackle the card with wagering in mind and key on a few specific instances where we think there is good value and a chance to make a decent score. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest. You might know him on Twitter as California Pick 4, Kieran Thornton. Kieran, welcome.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for having me on here today.
Very happy to have you. So I mentioned your social media Twitter handle as California Pick 4, but I also want to mention that you're pretty active in traditional media as well, right? You act as a host of the Newcomers Seminar here at Del Mar. You also write a value play column in both the San Diego Union Tribune and the Los Angeles Times horse racing newsletter, where you're always trying to find some big prices. Tell us a little bit about those endeavors.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the Newcomers Seminar, because of all the things going on this year, we actually get to do this together because I'm usually on the other side of the track on Sundays when you're doing this daily thing. But yes, for the LA Times a couple of years ago, John Cherwa approached me. If you're not familiar with it and you're a horse player or just interested in horses, it is a fantastic free tool. Here goes out every day that we have horse racing here in California, and it's an excellent horse racing tool. There's some value plays and picks, as well as some news and insights into what's going on in horse racing here in California. And then I also do the value play for the UT sports page. You can check that out each day of the meet as well.
Well, you keep repeating that word value, and that's something that I love to hear because value is all about the name of the game, right? We're looking to beat favorites. We're looking to find overlays. We're looking for prices that are going to enable us to make some big scores. So let's talk a little bit about that. I know you like to home in on price horses. Do you have specific angles that work for you? You know, in other words, what are you looking for when it comes to finding a live long shot?
I would say the smaller the stable, the better. These days in racing, we usually see the super trainers get a lot of the horses, and the small trainers kind of get pushed to the side. And oftentimes you will see horses that if they were with a different trainer just because of the name, the horses are great. They just don't get that attention, and we can find some great value there. I also like to look at, I like to look at stats. I like to see who's hot and who's not, and, which trainers and jockeys team up together. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. And of course, it's the price. Anyone can bet a 3-5 or a 5-2 favorite, but, it might make you happy collecting tickets at the window. But, my goal is I actually like paying the tax man at the end of a betting day. So I'm looking for those. You're not going to pay the tax man if you're betting 8-5 favorites. You're going to be doing it when you get those 15-1 shots over each other and doubles and whatnot in the pick 4.
Right. I like what you said about statistics and trying to find some streaks. I find that if you always want to be at the beginning of a streak, right? By the time the public is onto the streak, the value is already sucked out of it. So if you're doing the work and you're digging deep and you're on the cusp of finding a horse, a jockey, or a trainer who's about to get hot, that's when you can find some really good prices. So you mentioned the double as one of your wagers. I know we also have you do a pick 4. You do some pick 4 write-ups. You play that every day, but is when you play the pick 4, are you looking for certain races that leap out at you? Like, how do you tackle a sequence like that?
I'll go through, and the first thing I'm going to look for is, are there beatable favorites? Do I
Right.
like this favorite? If I don't like a favorite, I'm going to look for value. Now, if I don't see value in there, I'm just going to go ahead and use the top two choices and move to the next race. I mean, I'm not going to force myself to look for value in each race, especially in the pick four sequence. If it lets me only get away with doing one or two horses in one race, then I can spread in those wide open races and, go for those three-legged horses, as they say, those big price horses.
Right. So you're looking for sequences where at least two of your horses are going to be big prices. And if you have to use logical horses in some of the other sequences, you're okay with that. You might press your opinions, play it an extra time or two or whatever. But what about other wagers? I know you focus a lot on the pick four, but you mentioned the double before. Are there other types of bets that you gravitate towards?
I've been playing the doubles a lot more lately, especially, when I've been hitting a lot of value plays. It's great to hit the value play and you get the win place money on it, but they pay even more when you connect them in a double or a pick three. So one of the things that really annoys me is getting a nice value play and then the favorite wins the next race. So if I really like a value play or two, I'm always going to key in with the next race or the race before with a probable favorite and my value play in that race. So at least, it may not pay as much with the favorite hitting with my value play as it would with the value play over value play, but at least, I'll get paid for finding that good price in the card.
Right. It's again all about finding value, like we keep talking about. So obviously, when you're playing price horses, you're gonna swing and miss a lot more than you connect, right? So you have to have a certain mindset when you're playing long shots. What advice would you give to players out there who, listen to you, want to take some of your advice, some of your value plays, but realize that they're long shots for a reason?
Yes, I mean, you can go on some streaks where you're going to run second or third a lot, and you're going to get bad rides, or the conditions are not going to be the conditions you thought. You're going to go on those streaks. It's part of racing. Even when you're betting favorites, there's going to be times where favorites don't win anyways. You just got to know that it's going like that. I know a lot of people who follow me, at least my long-term people, have come to realize we're not going to collect a ticket every day. I'm not going to be saying my third choice in 4 straight races. One, I did great handicapping. That was a bad day. I want it, to be value, value, value. I don't want a $40 pick 4 win. That's not what I'm looking for. I mean, it's nice to collect a ticket, but I'm not going for that. I'm going, for those big payouts and hopefully connecting on them.
Yeah, we're not looking to just cash tickets and pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, we did a good job. We had 4 winners in a row. We're looking for those tickets where you could be wrong 10 times, but it's that one time you hit that really makes all the difference. You talked about the double before. The double is one of my favorite bets. I think it's so underappreciated, and the reason why I like the double as one of my key wagers throughout the day is that you can look at the probables.
Yes.
Right? You can actually see where the value is. If
Yes.
you like 2 horses and you look at the probable and it's an underlay, you don't have to play it. You can look for the combinations of the horses you like that are going to pay, and then you can weight your wagers accordingly. You might play a $20 double, $20 into a double that's going to pay $20. You might pay $10 into a double that's going to pay $40. So you can actually wait and figure out how much you want to win and how much you want to take out of a race by looking at those probables.
Yeah, and I especially like that, when I've already, got my pick 4 bet underway and we might be in the second leg, and then I'm looking at what the will pays or the probables could be, and I'm getting an even greater price just betting the favorite in this race with my horse in the next race. And sometimes I'll end up making more money on that bet than I will with the pick 4 if all the favorites come in.
Yeah, because it's all about finding the value and seeing where your opportunities are. So this is actually a perfect segue into talking about the races. I always talk about when I do the seminar how important it is to have a game plan. You want to kind of map out your day. You want to look at the card from a macro perspective, see where the best opportunities are, and then build your wagering menu, as it were, around those races. I know you like today's late pick 4, so Why don't you talk a little bit in general about the sequence and why you gravitated to the late pick 4 today, and then we'll actually go over each individual race, starting with race 5, and talk a little bit more in detail about that pick 4 bet.
Well, before we jump in, I got to ask you, did you pick me today because you knew it was going to be raining and you wanted the Irish guy on? Is that what it was?
Well, no, I was hoping to be all turf racing, right? Irish horses
so
on
we
the
get
turf.
all dirt.
We saw how good they did in the Breeders' Cup yesterday. But you know what? You're versatile. I go to the bench to the versatile utility man. So
I mean, I looked at it today, and this is a pick 4 that could pay very nicely or chalk out. I mean, that's how it is, especially with the weather. It's all going to depend on if the sky's open or the sun comes out today. So I liked a lot of value plays in the pick 4 today, and that's why I thought we would focus on that. Now, I do, if you go to the Del Mar website, the handicapping page, I did put my full card on there under California pick 4. So there's also some nice value plays earlier in the day for people to check out after the seminar is over too.
Okay, very good. So let's just jump right into the races. Let's start off with race 5. It's an 8.5 furlong main track affair for starter allowance horses who have started for a claiming price of $50,000 or less, and get this, who have never won 3 races. Usually when we see the starter allowance condition, it's for horses who have never won 2 races. So always read the conditions. I tell people that all the time. You think it's so simple, but the devil is in the details. Anyway, the morning line favorite is number 2, Paladar, at 5-2. I can tell you this, if this horse goes off at 5-2, then there is something seriously wrong with him. I'm not saying he has to win, but he should be 8-5 in this field based on his previous body of work. Sure, he's coming off a year-plus layoff, but he has races against allowance foes that tower over this group. But will he be the same horse after 14 months? And is he going to offer any value? Probably not. What do you think, Kieran?
Well, I looked at it, first start, like you said, since August of last year for Baltus. But one of the things I jumped on, Ricardo, who's riding for him, is 1 for 19. So when I talked about earlier, looking at some stats, I will try to beat favorites when I see stats like that. If a jockey is 0 for or 1 for a bunch of times on a horse, automatically, especially if it's a favorite, I'm going to be looking for reasons, to look for another horse. There is a couple of sharp, workouts ready for today. And like you said, this horse could blow them away, but it's the kind of race, especially to start the pick 4. If we get a price here, it's going to pay for the rest of the day. Usually when the favorite wins the start of the pick 4, the payouts end up being on the low side. So this is a great way to, get that super pay here on the pick 4 if we can beat him in this race.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about this race. Paladar seems like the kind of horse who's either going to win by 10 or not hit the board, right? So
yes.
I also like what you said about finding value, particularly in the first leg of the sequence, because you talk to so many players who don't attack a sequence. They play it defensively. I don't want to get beat by the favorite in the first leg. I don't want to be out of it. My feeling is almost the opposite. It's like, I want to take a stand. I want to be separate from everybody else. If I'm right, great. I move on to the next leg, starting off with a good price. If I'm wrong, you know what? That's okay. I can come back with a pick 3, or I can play a double. And like you said, when a favorite wins the first leg, your price, the payout is usually devalued. So beating the favorite in this first leg, who are you looking at?
I'm actually looking at Mongolian Legend here. Anibish, I'm butchering his name now here.
I think that's how you say it.
I actually love him putting Edwin Maldonado on here. As you know, if you want a horse to bust the gates and pop out, he's the man. But, not just that. The last few months, I think he's been riding fantastic. It doesn't show up really on his win stats, but he's been rating really well. I mean, he's been riding really well. I like how he looks. This horse, some really good workouts. They're dropping him today. Edwin, we're getting 12-1, possibly gate to wire, especially depending on what the track's like. He could just hit the front and throw mud in the face of all the other horses who just don't want to race today. And, getting that home would be really, really nice start for us here on the pick 4.
Yeah, 12-1 on the morning line. And I mentioned earlier about reading the conditions, that this is an interesting starter allowance and that it's for horses who have not won 3 races. Well, Mongolian Legend is the only one in the field who hasn't won twice. So that could be a sign of confidence by the trainer. There are other starter allowances this horse could have run in. So that's a little interesting. That's a little sneaky. It's a little contrarian. A lot of players might look at the horse and say, you know what? He's ceding a win to the rest of the field. You look at it and say, hey, that's a vote of confidence. Why else is the trainer running here?
And then the other thing, workouts, as we know, can be claim bait many times, but this horse is not being risked today. So when they're not risking the horse for a claim and they put those nice works in, I'm more optimistic that they're actually, good works and the horse is, ready to fire off at a price.
Yeah. So you're looking at Mongolian Legend to try and dictate the pace. I'm sure Paladar will be up front. I thought number 8, Ranamo, I'm not sure how you say that. But I thought that horse was going to sit a good tracking trip. And again, it all depends on how the track is playing. So we want to pay attention to the earlier races on the card, see if we can see if we can pick up on any tendencies. But I thought Ranamo was a very good alternative to the favorite. I know he's only 3-1. He's the second choice, but I expect that horse to run a big race today. Were you using that horse?
Yeah, I mean, how do you not use Pratt, especially in the first leg of the pick 4? Because as you know, when you don't, he comes up and beats you. So, and second off the layoff is usually a pretty good move as well. And the horse ran second here during the summer. The other one I also have in here, a little bit of a price, is Sign of the Cross. I actually used him last month. He fought down the lane against Braun, who got scratched today. I actually thought this horse was better than Braun, so I'm glad Braun scratched out. And, we get a pretty good price for him as well here today at 6-1.
Yep,
and a weight break, and a weight break too on the ads. Especially on this mile and 16th.
That's right. You and I were talking about that a little later because we were talking about how good Jessica Piper has been as an apprentice. Alexis Centeno, he's done a very good job too. That 7-pound weight break, especially in lower level races, going a route of ground, I love to see it at like 6.5, 7, and a mile and a 16th, even better. Because a lot of these horses, they're not exactly strong finishers. So if you have that extra weight advantage, it might carry you home. So that's race 5. I'll post the ticket and the numbers at the end of the conversation, but let's move on to race 6. This race makes the sequence a little tricky for me. It's a Calbred maiden special weight for 2-year-old fillies going 5.5 furlongs on the main track. We've got several first-time starters in here, and the only 2 runners who have made starts have both shown speed, but haven't been able to get the job done, right? They've gotten leg weary late. Will those 2 duel into submission? Will it set it up for a firster to come from off the pace? Are we looking for something crazy here? How do you see this race, Kieran?
I need to get out of this race, essentially. So I've got a favorite, and then I've got my big value play, and the value play I like is our Miss Millie. Mike Smith is riding, and as you know, he is very particular on what horses he rides these days. He doesn't have to. So when he shows up on a horse like this, it makes me look at the horse again. Now, just looking at this horse, this trainer, he's not known to win with these kinds of horses. I mean, he's won 1 race from 53 times in maidens, and maiden special weights 1 for 46. Now, with those kind of stats, I would have thrown this horse out the window, not even looked at it. But Mike Smith is showing up on it. What does he know? What is he seeing? He doesn't ride a whole lot. So when he rides on something like this, oftentimes they will pop. And as you know, he tends to be my nemesis in my pick 4 tickets. So this is exactly the kind of horse he will come home on a big price, and I'll be mad that I didn't put him in.
Right. When you need him on a favorite, he usually runs second or third, and then when you completely toss him, he shows up and catches you with a big price. You make a great point. Cruel Jack is a really patient trainer. He usually races horses into shape. Oftentimes when he has a first-time starter, you see he'll leg up Efrain Hernandez because it's basically a public workout. So the fact that Mike Smith is showing up to ride at a horse who's been based at Los Al for a trainer who doesn't win often first out, doesn't have a lot of precocious horses, that's a big tell, right? I mean, that says that the horse has some ability. Whether the horse will win today or not, we'll see. But you're getting you're getting compensated in price, right? The horse is 10 to 1 on the morning line. You might get every bit of that. You might even get a little more, because I do think that the Jonathan Wong horse will probably get over bet, as will the one horse, since those are the two who have started before and they've both shown speed, and we're going 5.5 furlongs today. So they're going to take the lion's share of the action.
Yeah. I didn't use the number one. I may regret not putting Pratt in, but I thought I was going to take it. I'm just going to take a shot with number 5, and Rispoli, and go with the Mike Smith horse. And if I can get out of this race, I'm looking good.
Yeah, if you can get out of this, if your Mongolian Legend wins leg 1, and if your Cruel Jack wins leg 2, you're setting yourself up pretty good for the next couple of races. So let's move on to the next race. It's race 7. It's a really, really cool renewal of the 7 furlong Betty Grable Stakes for Calbred, Cal-sired fillies and mares. The morning line favorite is number 8, Just Grazed Me, at 2 to 1. She is a very, very cool 5-year-old race mare. She's been so consistent throughout her career, on turf, on dirt, doesn't matter. She's mostly been sprinting at shorter distances, but she has run well before. Back in 2018, she finished second in this race at 7 furlongs on the dirt. So she has that versatility to her. She looks perfectly fine in this spot. I'm actually interested in her stablemate, and we'll talk about that horse in a little bit, but let's get your thoughts on this race first.
I mean, this is one of those races, if you had to single in this sequence, I would be okay saying you could single, Just Graze Me. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, but like you said, there's some other value in there. Miss Megan is the other one, and like you said, my problem, though, is Cedillo is 0 for 12. For D'Amato. It's one of those things. I mean, every bad streak comes to an end, but I look at some of those streaks and I'm like, okay, but the speed. This horse has some serious, serious speed. I'm using it because you got to always use the other D'Amato whenever you're playing. I actually preferred the number 1 over all of them, because I saw this race as just speed on speed on speed. And, the number 1 is the only real closer here. Has won 3 of the last 4. So this horse likes to win, and it likes to come late. It's a fast turnaround for this trainer. I usually don't like betting fast turnarounds on horses. I know a lot of handicappers don't look at that angle, but, usually I won't use them, but there's no other real closers in this race. And, if this race goes off like it should with just speed, we could see this number 1, coming late at a really big price here.
Yeah, number 1, she's a girly girl. She's in very good form right now. She's another one who's been versatile. 15 to 1 on the morning line. I will never talk someone off a horse like that. But I kind of see the race just a little bit differently than you, because I'm going to try and think outside the box. Yes, there is a lot of speed on paper. I agree with you 100%. But I find that a lot of times in these 7 furlong races, jockeys just kind of like to take a little bit of a hold to try and ration that speed. I don't think Cedillo is going to do that on Miss Megan. I think Cedillo, he's super aggressive. I think he's going to break. He's going to go to the front. And I'm hoping, I'm taking a little bit of a leap of faith here, but that's how you catch price horses, right? I'm hoping the other speed horses the other jocks just kind of let their horses settle into stride a little bit, try to rate them a little bit off the speed horse. And I can see Miss Megan maybe possibly wiring the field at a huge price at 12 to 1. I've always liked this horse. I actually bet her last time. In retrospect, I look at the race and I realize that it was just a prep for this. It was 5.5 furlongs on the turf. She was coming off a layoff. I think D'Amato was really just getting a race in her, prepping for this spot. We'll see. 12 to 1. I think it's worth it. I know you're including her as well.
Oh, so. I would definitely take it. I mean, and Cedillo had that big last Sunday, was really big for him as well. So I'm okay if he wins this race as well.
Yeah. So that's it. Who are you using? Are you using 1 as your long shot? You're also going to use the 3 Miss Megan. Was there anybody else that you?
I'm the favorite, 8.
Okay. All right. Again, I'll post the ticket at the end of the conversation. But let's turn to the 8th race and the nightcap. We end the card and the sequence with a wide open $100,000 optional claiming classified allowance contested at 6.5 furlongs on the main track. Again, I talk about reading the conditions. Okay. Note. In addition to the usual conditions for what basically is a non-winners of 3 lifetime, there is a stipulation in this race that allows for horses who have not won 40,000 since September 1. So that really opens up this field to horses who have multiple wins, especially at the allowance or even at the stakes level. Okay, the morning line favorite was number 4, Micro Rhythms, and I know we're both bummed, Kieran, because we were both going to beat this horse.
Yes.
It was a Baffert horse at 5-2, a lot of speed. I thought this was the most beatable favorite on the card, and maybe Baffert did too, and that's why he ended up scratching the horse. So that will leave the morning line favorite as number 7, Independence Hall. Was 7-2 before the scratches. We'll see if John White amends that morning line. But I also thought the second choice was vulnerable in here too. Don't get me wrong, this horse has a ton of ability, but he's a 3-year-old. He's been away since March. He's making his first Southern California start, so you have all those questions. Mike McCarthy is a terrific trainer. I think he's one of the best, most underrated trainers on this circuit. You usually get really good prices on his horses, and he does an excellent job, especially when he's given a good horse. And this is a good horse, but he's patient, right? So I can see this one just out for a leg stretcher today, right? There's the Grade 1 Malibu, the end of December at Santa Anita at 7 furlongs. I think that's probably the target for this horse. Although that also might be the target for Nashville, who we saw romp on Breeders' Cup Day, who's also another really, really good 3-year-old sprinter. But anyway, I think you have to take on a horse like this. I thought it was a spread race, but after the scratch of Micro Rhythms, there is a horse who I think will benefit more from that scratch than the other horses, and that's number 2, Any Port in a Storm, who I know you also wanted to talk about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your opinion in this race?
Well, like you said, number 2, Pratt Miller, 47%. When those guys team up, you almost have to use them whether or not you like them. And then they add blinkers today. So you know what the plan's going to be on this one. And dropping in class, Sharp works. That's a easy one. I don't need to dig into it anymore. I mean, you have to use, especially on this spread race. As for the 7, absolutely going to be the favorite. Mike McCarthy, though, 1 for 23. So it's another one of those stat plays. And this is the kind of horse where Mike Smith will ride knowing that they're targeting another race. You kind of want to beat him here, like you said. We were going to use Micro Rhythms as a defensive play because when you don't use a Baffert horse, he comes out and gets you. Him scratching actually would probably mean we get lower prices on the other horses that we thought we were going to do today. My actual top choice in this one, and this was the play I did for the LA Times and UT today, it's that number 1. He's the reason. Shipping down from Hastings, first start since January. We've got trainer Sandy Gone. She used to be a jockey a few years ago, retired, and is doing quite well with her small stable. Blistering speed. I mean, this horse has some serious speed here. And every single race this horse has done, it's been well bet. So this is my wise guy play in this race, the number 1. I'm also using number 3, PR Radio Star. Shipped in here, got the bonus, the ship and win money. And actually back to the number 1 that reminded me, this horse, the number 1, will also qualify for that ship and win bonus money. And I like seeing when they ship these horses in and they don't risk them for the claim. So usually means, they're not shipping it in and hoping there might be some more to that. And we're getting a good price on that as well.
Yeah, so you got some bombs in here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Can you finish?
I mean, like I said, this is a spread race, especially, with the scratch of the 4. I think we can beat Independence Hall. I'm going to use it defensively on my pick 4 ticket because, as I said before, when I don't, Mike Smith will beat me. So I actually have to put it in, but I'm definitely going to be trying. I think this is probably one of the most wide open races we have here.
Come on, no guts, no glory. Let's go. Let's talk. I want to toss Independence Hall. I'm not using Independence Hall for a penny on my ticket. Okay. Here's a good comment by Samuel Rob Robertson. Manhattan Up will be coming at the leaders, and you get morning line of 15-1. I actually agree with him. I think even though Micro Rhythms is out of the race, he was going to contribute to a very, very fast pace. You still have some speed in here. You have some speed in here. Manhattan Up is a very, very nice horse who has a good late kick, has run well off the bench before. I'm a little concerned about the layoff. I don't like to see horses come off a layoff, run once, and then go to the bench again. I think Phil Oviedo does a really, really good job with limited stock. I'm not talking anyone off of 15-1. Manhattan Up is definitely going to be on my exotics tickets in that race. But my top pick in the race was number 2, Any Port in a Storm, just because I think now he will be able to dictate the pace. And if you look at this horse has got 8 wins. He sneaks in the condition because he hasn't won 40,000 since September 1st. He's got stakes wins. He's the class of the field. He's got good tactical speed. If someone comes from off the pace, Manhattan Up will be running, but he's also going to have to run down PR Radio Star, who's going to have to jump on him in a better position. So I just think it's a really fascinating race. Unfortunately, with the scratch of Micro Rhythms, Any Port in a Storm is not going to be 4-1. I think he's going to be vying for favoritism with Independence Hall, and I actually think he might even go off as the favorite. We'll see what the bettors do, but you won't find much value there. I think PR Radio Star and Morning Line 8-1, you'll probably get 5-1 now with the scratch, but that's still good value. It really just it's an interesting sequence. I posted it on here. If you can see, it's a $60 ticket. I think you can probably trim the ticket by trying to beat the favorite in the last leg. I'm going to toss Independence Hall. Try and be a little brave. Try and be a little brave.
I didn't even have Independence Hall as one of my top choices. I think I reluctantly put him in because the 4 scratch, but yeah, I could see tossing it for the cheaper ticket.
But now I'm going to have egg on my face. Watch Independence Hall win by 5 today. Come back, win the Malibu, and be like one of the best 3-year-old sprinters of the year. All right, well, that's all we have time for today. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. I will post this Pick 4 ticket also on Twitter. Follow Kieran at California Pick 4. I know he has some other value plays earlier in the card. You can check out his selections on the Del Mar website. On the handicapping page. We'll be back again next week. Have a great day, everyone. Good luck to us, and let's make some money. Thanks for watching.